Galyans Trading Company was a sporting goods store chain that opened in 1943 and was bought out in 2004. Thank you for your suggestion.
Fill everyone's wish list.
At Galyans, lightning strikes every time with the lightning rod from Berkeley. These rods are constructed for extra sensitivity and strength, and the actions are designed for pro techniques like jigging, cranking, flipping, and worming. Lightning rods at Galyans are just $27.99 after $5 mail-in rebate. Rebates also apply to other Berkeley lightning rods.
Fill everyone's wish list.
Are you serious about your sports?
You know we are.
Galyans.
Albert Galyan and his wife Naomi opened his first Indianapolis store in 1943 at 1102 West 16th Street, which was followed by stores in Plainfield and Brownsburg, as well as Galyan's Trading Post, also in Plainfield. Galyan's Trading Company began as a single store founded in Plainfield, Indiana in 1946. Galyans was originally a grocery store that also sold hunting and fishing supplies. Gradually, it evolved into a small, successful sporting goods store. By the 1960s, the Galyans began selling sporting goods entirely. Albert Galyan died in 1976, and management of the business passed to his son, Pat Galyan. In 1978, Pat Galyan and his wife bought the store outright from Naomi. Pat Galyan managed the business for 6 years before deciding he wanted to expand. The second Galyan store opened in the Indianapolis area in 1983. Over the next decade, the chain expanded to 4 stores in Indiana. These were about 37,000 square feet each and sold a full array of sporting goods. The chain dominated the central Indiana market. Sales for the company in the early 1990s were estimated at around $15 million. In 1993, the company announced plans to build a 5th store in Columbus, Ohio, but this one was to be quite different from its predecessors. The Columbus store was sited between 2 large format regional retailers, Kohl's and Myers, and it was almost twice as big as the other Galyans at 75,000 square feet. The new store was built on 2 levels and offered a complete line of sporting goods, from skis to canoes, as well as athletic shoes and apparel. It featured a modern design with a glass facade and an open atrium decorated with an enormous steel tree, and it offered its customers a chance to climb on its 42-foot indoor climbing wall. Outside, the store had another 40,000 square feet for a full-size volleyball court, basketball court, golf practice area, batting cages, and a running track. It reminded me of a sports version of a Bass Pro Shop. An additional 8,000 square feet was set aside for boating equipment. The store was huge, and it employed 150 to 200 people. The Columbus store was a breakthrough in sporting goods retailing. No one had put together such a theatrical retail space in sporting goods before. The new store was more than a flagship, and Pat Galyan announced that it was a prototype for the rest of the chain, which he planned to expand. Galyan decided to do with design the ultimate category killer. In other words, he outdid even the megastores by being not only large, but adding the sense of adventure and fun with the attractive architecture and on-site sports areas. Galyans also claimed to be more than just a sporting goods store. Pat Galyan called his retail outlets sports stores and claimed to have a broader understanding of the sporting lifestyle and sport fashions than other retailers. It's not just jocks and socks and hunting and fishing, he said. Galyans also retrofitted some of its Indiana stores and built one more, bringing the chain to 6 by 1995. Galyans called itself the world's coolest sports store and showed an impressive retail flair. Pat Galyan seemed to have the wide view of the sports market as he planned to keep the chain growing. He wanted to make sure his stores provided for women customers, something he thought few of his competitors emphasized enough. In both the store design and in its apparel offerings, Galyans intended to stand out as a retailer that would cater to women in the sports market. Galyan also hoped to attract aging customers, particularly with the sale of exercise equipment. He believed that the aging baby boom generation would find itself with more time and money to spend on sports and exercise and would buy at-home fitness equipment. Although the chain was still small, it already was thinking of a national market. By 1994, Galyan's sales had grown substantially to $52 million, up from $15 million just a few years earlier. Even so, the company did not have the funds to expand nationally by itself. In 1995, The Limited bought Galyans for $32 million. The Limited operated almost 5,000 stores and had sales in 1994 of more than $7 billion. It ran its namesake, The Limited Stores, a mall stalwart, as well as Abercrombie & Fitch, Express, the lingerie chain Victoria's Secret, and Bath & Body Works. The company had a long-standing experience in developing retail niches, although sporting goods was a departure for it. The Limited announced that it would build as many as 50 new stores by 2000, bringing sales to positive $500 million. Pat Galyan would stay on as CEO of the chain, which was to remain headquartered in Indiana. Galyan claimed to be ecstatic about the deal, which partnered his company with one of the most knowledgeable retailers in the country. Over the next 2 years, Galyan opened 2 stores in Minneapolis-St. Paul and another in Kansas City. The new stores were from 80,000 to 100,000 square feet and continued the Galyans' theme of hands-on displays and tryout areas and dynamic, theatrical designs. By 1996, sales had already doubled from 2 years earlier to $108 million. But in 1997, Pat Galyan abruptly left his post as CEO, claiming that he wished to retire at the age of 47 to spend more time with his family. The company's new CEO was Joel Silverman. Silverman instituted changes to give Galyans a better management infrastructure, making every store more consistent with its partners in the chain, overhauling the budget, and merchandising planning processes, and in general setting up the chain to operate on a national scale, even though it was still small. Nevertheless, there were several barriers to the quick expansion that the Limited had first envisioned for Galyans. One was that the stores were very large, and working out the real estate deals to build them were complicated and sometimes slow-moving. Mall stores, including Victoria's Secret, were generally quicker and easier to open than something as architecturally unique as Galyans. By 1998, the chain had moved to a couple malls, and the company did not rule out more mall expansion rather than standalone units. Galyans wanted employees who were knowledgeable sports enthusiasts. It needed some 200 people for each new store. Silverman acknowledged that it might be difficult to attract enough suitable personnel when the chain started opening more stores more quickly. By 1998, only about 6% of the business was in Galyans' private label goods. Most of this was in casual apparel. The company hoped to introduce more private label goods, but was waiting to see what niches its major brand vendors neglected, to see where the best opportunity might be. At this point, the chain was nowhere near opening the 50 new stores it had planned. Galyans ended 1998 with sales of $229 million. In mid-1999, Galyans had expanded to 18 stores, and the Limited sold 60% of its interest in the chain to a private investment firm called Freeman Spogli and Company. The Limited made approximately $190 million on the sale. The growth of the chain continued. The company opened in the Chicago area as well as its third store in the Atlanta area. New stores were also underway in Buffalo, Denver, Detroit, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Not only was Galyans' revenue growing because of its new stores, but sales at stores opened at least a year, a key measure of retail performance, was also growing at around 10%. The company began selling its stock on the NASDAQ in 2001. The IPO raised about $115 million for the chain, which was used to pay down debt to fund further expansion. The stock sale left the Limited with about 22% of Galyans and Freeman Spogli with another 30%. The chain opened more stores in urban markets across the country. It opened a store in Plano, Texas in 2001, followed by others in Rochester, New York, and Salt Lake City. By mid-2002, Galyans had 26 stores in 16 states. Many of the stores featured rock climbing walls, golf simulators, and archery ranges. In June of 2004, Dick's Sporting Goods, which had 239 stores in 33 states from Maine to Las Vegas, purchased the Galyans chain for $305 million in cash and approximately $57 million net debt for a total deal value of $362 million. The deal completed in October of 2004, and at the time, Galyans had 47 stores in 21 states. The combined entity would now consist of 216 stores in 32 states, generating income of $56 million on sales in excess of $2.2 billion. The conversion to the Dick's format was expected to be completed in the first half of 2005. The deal put Dick's in a position in the East as their largest big box rival attempts to rebuild the TSA chain in the East from Denver while growing the former Gart business in the West. The deal also pitted the two solidly against each other in the Sport Mart territory and gave Dick's stores in Texas the ability to compete with Oshman's. The deal also gave them a solid foothold in Chicago, Atlanta, Minneapolis, Dallas, and Denver. Galyan's name was dropped in favor of Dick's Sporting Goods. So what do you remember about this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
Bringing back memories from the good old days. That's super cool, man.